Okey-dokes. Right. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is well. Thank you for joining this webinar today. I think this is probably our fourth or fifth webinar with the CityFibre Digital Academy. So for those that maybe have missed one of the ones that we've done previously, then head to our YouTube and all of them are there for you guys to catch up on. Today, we are once again hosted by Craig from OneFix, and he will be discussing 7 things you didn't know you could do in Microsoft. So I'm sure, there's lots of stuff that we probably think we know or we don't know. So yeah, the Q&A will also be at the end. So, if you've got any questions, put them in during the webinar, but they will be answered at the end. But other than that, go ahead.
Fantastic.
Craig.
Thank you so much. Right, give me a second. I shall share my screen. Okay, there we go. Great. So, hi everybody. Thanks again for joining. Yeah, today I'm going to talk to you about 7 things I'm going to say you probably didn't know you could do in Microsoft. Hopefully, you'll learn something today. If you do know all of these things, brilliant, well done. There's certainly, when I was coming up with some ideas of what to put in here, there were some things that I found that I didn't know. So I'm hopeful that I might have at least 1 or 2 things that you won't know how to do already. So we'll go through this. There are options within Zoom to put in questions. Please do fire those questions in. We've got some time at the end to cover those off. I'm happy to answer any questions on the stuff that's on the content today, or if you've got any other Microsoft 365 questions, I'm more than happy to try and answer them. And if I can't answer them, I can obviously come back to you afterwards. So let's get started. So the 7 things we're going to cover off, and we'll go through these in order, and I'll show you some bits and pieces, but we're going to cover off how to use dictation, using Presenter Coach within PowerPoint, which is a really useful way of preparing and planning your slideshows and presentations. We're going to cover off how you can collaborate in real time with Microsoft 365. Bits and pieces around searching and filtering in Outlook, and I'll give you a bit of a live demo on that. Some things around document translation, which is quite useful if you're working with colleagues that are international or you're working with content that's in foreign languages. Microsoft Bookings, so how to use Microsoft Bookings. That's kind of a feature that's there in Microsoft 365 that not everybody knows that's there. So if you're somebody that at the moment is paying for a service such as Calendly or Appointlet or one of those kind of calendar booking services, you might be quite surprised what you can do with bookings. And then finally, some bits around Microsoft Clipchamp, and Clipchamp is quite a new product within the Microsoft portfolio, and that is a video editing tool. So yeah, a few different topics we're going to cover today. So let's get started. So using dictation to type with your voice. So the key thing, this is available in Microsoft Word and in Microsoft Outlook, and it is a method that you can use to essentially talk to your computer and have it dictate for you. So if you've been using computers for a while, you're probably familiar with some of the good old days where you could have a headset and you could use a piece of software such as Dragon, and you could talk to the computer and it would type out what you're saying, and it would be a bit useless. Actually, it wasn't always terribly good. What we've got now within Microsoft is there is a dictation button, and it's not that obvious, and hopefully, I'm not sure how well you can see my screen, I'm not sure how clear it is for you, but you'll see on this screenshot here, I've got a little video I'll play you in a second, but there is a dictate button, and it should be hidden on your home ribbon, certainly within Word. And I'll just show you how I'll start this video. What you would do is you click the dictate button there, you drop down, choose dictate, it will ping.
Hello, this is Craig Atkins showing you
talk to it,
in Word.
And as you can see on the screen, it's picking up exactly what's being said as you say it, putting it into correct case and all that kind of stuff, but understanding when you stop a sentence, it'll put a full stop. When you say new line, it'll break a new line down. So if you're busy, if you're in the middle of doing bits and pieces and you want to just talk to the computer and have it write what you're saying, the dictation function is brilliant, and it's not that obvious. It's just hidden behind one of the buttons on the ribbon. So it allows you, say, to do hands-free text composition. So really, really useful if you're in the middle of other things. You can use dictate to talk to the machine and have it write down stuff for you. So a few use cases again for dictation. Obviously, as we say, it's hands-free typing, but you can use it for drafting emails. Note-taking is actually really useful. So again, if you're in the middle of a meeting, if you've got your laptop there, you can fire up dictate and have it listen in and take some notes. Especially if you've got a good microphone that's picking up what's being said, you will kind of pick up the general topic of what's happening and it will take the notes for you. Or you can again use it to dictate as and whilst you're performing other tasks. So very useful way of multitasking and getting some benefits out of your time. So next one, presenter coach in PowerPoint. So I've been using PowerPoint for a long time, and I'd never really done much with presenter coach until I was looking into what options there are and things that I don't use very often. So I thought, let me find things that I don't use and see if I can share those with you. So presenter coach, actually, I wish I'd known about it sooner, because it is really, really useful. So again, it's one of those things that's just on one of the buttons in PowerPoint. I think the secret with Microsoft is probably just click the buttons, because there are so many things here that you can do that you may not know about. But the idea behind Presenter Coach is what it allows you to do is practice your presentation. You can, if you have a full presentation, you can deliver it to the computer. It's using functionality a bit like we just saw with Dictate, and it's listening to what you say, and it's essentially writing down what you're saying as you present your presentation back to the machine, and then it's going to give you some feedback on that. So again, a little quick video here to show you how to do that. So move the mouse up, you'll find it under the slideshow tab, and on the slideshow tab is rehearse with coach. So you press that button down the bottom, you say start presenting, and it will say there start talking, and we'll show you the feedback for your speech here. Once you've done that and you've done your speaking, you will get this report, and it's a rehearsal kind of report, and it gives you, I mean, this is obviously a 9-second rehearsal, so it's not realistic, but what it will show you is it will show you the pace that you're speaking, and that's quite useful, because if you're the kind of person that likes to speak a bit quickly, and I am quite guilty of this, I can talk quite quickly when I'm excited or I know my topic, it'll show you that you're talking a bit too fast, and actually you need to slow that down. It will feed back to you if you're using a lot of filler words, which, like I just did there. It will also pick up repetitive language, so if you repeat things a lot, it will pull that out. And likewise, if you use slide notes, which are very useful, slide notes are a brilliant way to prompt you of what to do within PowerPoint. If you do use slide notes and you just read from them, it will pull that back to you as well. So it will advise you that you're really just reading either your slide notes or you're just reading what's on the screen itself, and that you need to vary that up. So that's really quite useful way of getting a feedback. So if you're going to go and do a big presentation, and certainly if you're going to go and present to a big audience, using that presenter coach and rehearsing your presentation to the machine will give you some brilliant feedback as to what you can do there. So next up, comments and mentions. And I should say, by the way, those features, 99.9% sure they're in all of the modern versions of Microsoft Office. So if you're not using 365, but you're using the Microsoft apps, I believe you still have those functions and features, I'm pretty sure. I can't say for sure, because again, we do use 365 here, but I know that this functionality here of collaboration in real time, this does need you to be on Microsoft 365. So you've got one of the cloud licensed products, because this is using some of that cloud technology to help you collaborate. So one of the really useful functions within Word, Excel, PowerPoint is the ability to do what's called an @ mention. You might have done this already in emails. So again, in Outlook, you can, when you're typing an email, if you type the @ symbol when you're in the middle of an email, it will let you sort of in somebody, so you can pick someone from your list of people and it will put them in the to field and it will mention them in the email. When you do it within a document, you can do it within document comments, and you can do it within changes if you're doing track changes or notes. It will actually send someone an email to let them know that you've mentioned them and that you need them to do something. So again, a little video here, you'll see what happens here. We're highlighting this text within this document. We're going to review, we're going new comment, we're putting a comment in here. And what we're doing is we're typing @, we're picking the person, in this case it's me. And there's a little, what we can do then is we can type @Craig Atkins, or here we're typing new title please, and you can actually tick a little box there that says assign to. If you tick the box, what that does is actually creates them a task. So it will create them a kind of a to-do task that will go into their Microsoft to-do or their task list in Outlook. If you don't tick the task box, they'll just get an email saying that somebody's mentioned you in a document and you've got an action to do. So by going through and using that @ and @ing people into documents, it's a really efficient way of collaborating, asking somebody to review a certain section of a document or asking them to give some input and feedback on that. And they will get an email to let them know that they've been added in. So by doing this, again, it allows you to kind of be smart, to track your feedback, really ensuring accurate reviews and revisions of documents by again, tagging in the right people who you need to take actions. So the key thing is the @ symbol. So the same one that you use in an email, go into your comments, type @ and it should give you a list of, in theory, it'll be everybody that's got permissions on that document, I believe. It might show you everybody in 365, but I think if you've got that document certainly shared in the SharePoint area, it should really only be showing you people that you've got that have got the ability to see and view that document. So if you're not seeing someone in that list when you do an @ make sure you've actually saved the document into a SharePoint area that they have access to, or that you've shared that document with them in the first place, and then they should be able to be added in. Okay, so advanced search and filters in Outlook. It's almost a topic in its own right. And actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to click the next slide on, and then I'll grab over Outlook, and I'm going to try and find a window I can show you in Outlook that doesn't have any personal information in there, and I'll show you some of these filters and search queries because it's quite useful to see this one in action. But Outlook as an email client, certainly here I'm talking about the physical program, the one that lives on your PC. If you're using Outlook on the web, a lot of these concepts still apply. You can do the same thing. It's just going to look slightly different. But you can do a lot of stuff with Outlook in terms of search queries and how you manage and find emails. And it's really, really useful. So let me just grab, sorry, I've got two things on the screen here. Let me grab my email over, and I will just open up a mailbox that doesn't have anything in it. Here we go. Okay, so within Outlook, you have a search bar. This is, I should say also, sorry, with Microsoft, as they love to do, they create lots of different products. They do have new Outlook and classic Outlook. What I'm using here is classic Outlook because it just has a little bit more feature and functionality at this present time. I'm sure the route to do this will be very, very similar in new Outlook. You will be able to do most of this stuff, but this, as I say, is classic Outlook. So if yours looks a little bit different, you'll just have to figure out where these things are. But essentially, when you click into the search box, first off, what it will do is it will show you, or you have a drop down actually, and this is worth noting, you have current mailbox. That is the mailbox you're in. So here, on my example here, I'm within my info mailbox. If I wanted to search everywhere, I can actually drop this down. I can choose that I want to search all of the mailboxes I have access to, everything within Outlook, just subfolders or just the current folder. So if I was instigating this search from within one of these folders here, for example, then that would just search that folder. So current mailbox is going to search where we are now. It's not going to find anything because there's nothing here. But what I'm going to do is show you, when you click here, you have some example suggested searches. They just pick out some people that you've communicate with regularly or you've had emails from, so that might be useful. I don't find that's often terribly useful. But what you can do is this little drop down arrow, which you would think, well, I've already dropped something down. Actually, if you click this arrow, this is where you get the advanced search functionality. So again, you have the option to pick where you want to search. You can choose if it's an email with attachments. If it is with attachments, you can choose the value to search for. So if you knew it was a PDF you were looking for, you can type PDF in there. If you know who it's from, you can type who it's from. If you want to search the body for certain words, you can type them there. So you can build a really, really granular search here to go and find things. And if the options you want aren't here, and these are pretty much most of the ones I would think you would want to search, you can click add more options, and you'll see here that suddenly you can search for emails where you might be in BCC, or emails that are in a certain category, or emails that have been modified on a certain date, or emails that have been read or that have been sent, or whatever. So you've got a huge ability to do a lot of fairly complicated searching here. So using Outlook Search first off is a really useful thing. Let me click back through and I'll show you some more bits and pieces as well. So the other thing you can do, and one of the more powerful parts of Outlook as well, that I think probably a lot of people will know about this, but maybe aren't using all of the stuff that you can do here, is the functions around message rules. Now, message rules are a brilliant way of automating things within your inbox, which means that you can make emails, you can classify them, you can categorize them, you could color code them, you can have some automatically delete, you can forward emails automatically. So a great example for me, I get a number of supplier invoices that just get emailed to me because I'm a default contact on an account and they actually need to go to our purchase ledger. So when I receive those, I can create a rule to move them or to forward them automatically to purchase ledger. So to get to your message rules, where you go for that is, again, on this home kind of banner, the home tab, you've got a rules button here. And again, it's quite small. This is the challenge, I think, with Microsoft products is, again, some of this stuff is buried away. But here's rules. If you've got an email highlighted, by the way, you can create a rule here. So you can go rules, create rule, or you can right click the email, create a rule from this email. But I'm just going to show you here under Manage Rules and Alerts. First off, this is going to show you all the rules you've got. So you can see I've got a bunch of different mailbox rules that I've got set up here. But what we can do, I'll show you a new rule, and you'll see just how powerful this can be. So as standard, it gives you some preset options. So from many of the rules that I would create would be moving things into folders. So again, the default thing here, move a message from someone to a folder. That's a fairly common rule you might want to create. Move a message with a specific word or a subject into a folder. You might look at these and go, well, actually what I want to do isn't there. So how do I do that? Well, actually what you want to do then is apply a rule on messages I receive. So you start from a blank rule, this section here. If we go here and we're going to say apply to the messages I receive, and we click next, now you'll see this is where the power is. We've got a huge amount of options we can apply here, and we can have multiple options. So we could say, for example, if we wanted a rule that said, let's say, if it's an email that has, I don't know, let's say it's got an attachment and it's only been sent to me, so it's not been sent to anybody else, and it is marked as highly important, so it's been flagged as high importance, then I want to deal with this message. So what we do is we pick all the conditions we want to trigger the rule on first, which we've done, and we click next. Now we can choose what we do. And again, we've got a lot of options here. We can move it to a folder. We could categorize it. So again, I use email categories. If I click here, you can see I've got some different ones for personal work, sales work, holiday, etc. So we can have it color code an email in the inbox. Helps us with our sorting and filtering. It's really useful. We can have it delete it or permanently delete it. The difference there, delete, we'll put it in the recycle bin, or essentially you can recover it, permanently delete it. It's gone forever. You can have it move a copy of it to a folder, so it stays in the inbox, but it puts a copy of it into a folder. You can have it forward it to people, forward it to them as an attachment. Loads of different options here. The forwarding is really useful. So that's a really good way of having an email move to somebody else. If you've, for example, I say in my example with an invoice, if you say the subject contains invoice, attachment is a PDF, forward it to accounts or whatever that might be. That's a really useful rule. Yeah, whole bunch of stuff you can do there. Once you've completed that rule, that's fine. You can then set some exceptions. So you could say, actually, do you know what? I want that to happen. But if there's a certain word in the email, don't do that, for example. So there's a huge amount, again, of exceptions you can apply. Once you've done all of that, you give it a name. You have it switched to turn on, which is useful. If it's not turned on, it doesn't do anything. If you want to, you can have that rule create on all accounts. So if you have multiple accounts set up in your Outlook, you can have that rule apply across all of them if you wish to. As standard, it will only apply against the account that you've started setting the rule up on. And again, if you wish to do so, if you're creating a rule that moves emails into folders, or maybe that classifies an email with a category, you might want to now run that on everything you've already got in your inbox. If you want to start filtering and making your inbox tidy, you want to run that rule now, and it will run through and just process it now on everything. If you don't tick that box, it will just run it on new emails that come in. So that is message filtering. And the final thing I want to show you in Outlook before we move to the next tip is, let me come back to here, these quick steps. Now this is something that's not often commonly used, but you can build quick steps. And what they are is they're a method here where you can select an email and either click here, or you can right click it and you can run that quick step. And that quick step might be something as simple as saying, move an email to a folder. So you can see here under my quick steps, you can say, let's move to folder, copy to folder, delete a message, mark it as unread, change the category, flag the message, all sorts of options. But what those mean is there's something that very quickly you have as a shortcut that you can right click a message, choose the quick step and apply it, or you can do it from this box up here, or you can even give it a keyboard shortcut. So you've only got 9 that you can actually assign, Control Shift 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But again, if you have a regular action, like you're forever moving emails into a client folder or a processed folder, create a quick step for that, and that's going to speed up your workflow because you're not going to have to keep dragging and dropping the email. So those are 3 kind of power user Outlook tips in terms of how you can work through prioritizing emails and use that then to reduce things like inbox clutter. Okay, translations. So this is quite fun. This is built into the Microsoft Office app, so there is translation built in. So if you are used to having to grab things and copy and paste them into, say, Google Translate to translate them, if you didn't know, you can do this within Microsoft Office. So again, it's under the Review tab. There is the Translate option. You can translate either specific chunks of text, or you can translate an entire document. And again, I've captured a little video here, and hopefully this one, again, if you can see this clearly on your screen, hopefully you'll see what we have here in this example is a document that is in French. Oops, what happened there? We have a document that's in French, and essentially what we're going to do on this one is we're going to select a section of it first. We're going to go to the review tab, hit translate, and then translate selection. On the right hand side, the pane comes out here. It will have a pretty good crack as detecting what the language is. So you can see there it says from French detected to English, but you could pick a different language if you were doing lingual translation. And you can see there it's put that text into English for us. You can also do the same process and go translate entire document. Again, it will auto detect the language, bring it back to English, and there you go. That whole document is now translated into English. So it's pretty good, I would say, in terms of if you've got to collaborate with foreign colleagues, or you want to rough translate something into a foreign language for, potentially a natural language speaker to then proof and confirm that it's correct. This is a really quick way to do that. These tools are getting better and better. Again, you'll know if you've used any of these online language translation tools, they're all pretty good now. So this is a really, really good way within Word to make those changes and do those translations. So. Okay, Microsoft Bookings. So this one is a feature people are gradually getting to know about this, but it's been in Microsoft 365, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, maybe even longer. I've been using it for a long time. It's surprising how many people have Microsoft 365 and they still pay for a calendar booking system. And with the revisions that Microsoft have made to this tool over the time, I would say it does most, if not everything, that the third-party tools do, especially if you're paying money for them. You can save some money and you can use Bookings because it's most likely within your Microsoft licensing. I'll show you at the end of this which licenses cover Bookings, but I'll show you first how it works. So with Bookings, you can create a branded self-service booking page, which is fantastic. So you can see this is an example here, my booking page. It's got my headshot there from my Microsoft 365. You can change the banner. That's a fairly generic sort of digital one there, but you can have it say what you want. You can create as many types of meetings as you want. I'm sure there's a built-in limit. I'm not sure how many there is. I've got about 8 or 10 different options on mine around things like booking a face-to-face meeting, booking a meeting for me to come to your office, booking an online Teams meeting. So you can choose different meeting types. The beauty there is that if you build out, say, a digital meeting, it will create the Teams meeting for you when somebody books in Bookings. So it creates that, it schedules it in your calendar, it sends them the invite. If you create face-to-face, it will create the meeting request, and it will put it in your calendar with an address. You can prompt people for information. So if you want them to provide some information about why they're booking with you, for example, that's quite useful to know. You can create those fields. You can have custom fields that they can fill in. It syncs with your Outlook calendar, so you can customize that. You can define what times are bookable. So you can say, actually, these are my working hours. You can only book these times. You can define things like buffers. So for example, if I've got an online meeting, I believe the buffer for me is around 15 minutes that you can, if I've got something, the buffer meaning, for example, if you book an 11 to 12 o'clock online meeting, it actually blocks out to 12:15 to give a bit of buffer. And also it doesn't let someone book up closer than kind of 15 minutes. So again, if I had, say, an 11:30 meeting to 12, the next slot that they could probably book is 12:15 or even 12:30, depending on what my booking slots are. So it won't, you can stop people booking you back to back, which is really useful to give you time to do catch-ups, allow for meeting overruns. If you're doing face-to-face meetings, you can define things like your travel time. So you can have it, book out a longer buffer period because you maybe want to allow an hour for travel back and forth to site, for example. So it works on your Outlook calendar. So if you have things booked in your calendar, it won't let people book those slots. It sends them reminders automatically. It sends them confirmation. You can define reminders. So you can tell it, for example, that I want someone to have a reminder 7 days before, 3 days before, a day before, 30 minutes before. It's all customizable. So if you have a particular meeting type where you really need to keep prompting people, don't forget you've got a meeting with me, you can have that automatically set up. You can see here on this demo I'm showing here, what it does do, it will show people options of dates they can pick. It will show them green ticks against times that actually, if they've logged in with Microsoft as well, it will show them times that are available in their calendar as well as yours, so they can pick times that they can make and you can make. So it's a really easy way to stop the toing and froing on meeting bookings and actually give people an ability to just book a meeting with you. I said we talk about licenses that include this. So if you have anything from kind of Microsoft Business Standard upwards, you can use bookings. If you're on Business Basic, you won't have bookings available for you. And if you're just using apps for business or Exchange Online or one of the basic email only type plans, you won't have bookings. But basically, Business Standard, Business Premium, the A plans for education, A3 and A5, and the enterprise plans, which are E3, E5, all have bookings available. If you have a mixture of licenses, then those people that have the business standard or business premium can have that bookings page created for them. So you don't need to license the entire of the Microsoft estate for that. As long as you've got the right license for the user that you need to make bookable, then it's doable that way around. And then finally, this is Microsoft Clipchamp. So we're going to have a quick look at Clipchamp. And Clipchamp is an editing tool. And the tip I'm going to show you, I mean, you may not even be aware of Clipchamp, so that might be something you've learned today. But the thing I'm going to show you is that you can actually edit a video just from the transcript, which is brilliant. Because the benefits of using edit from transcript are that you don't need to be a video editor, basically. You can Clipchamp itself, when you load a video in, will transcribe the video. So again, a bit like that technology we saw where we were talking to the machine and it was transcribing. Clipchamp will do that. It will give you a video transcription, and then you can select bits of that text and essentially delete them. And it will delete the video that applies to that. So if you're editing something like this, for example, and you thought, you know what, that whole section was not very good, I'm going to just select all that stuff I said and just delete it out, it will just chop it out of the clip for you. So it makes it really quick for editing videos to camera or webinars or podcast type videos where, for example, you might have some filler in there that you need to take out, or some words that you didn't want there. You can just edit them out and delete them, and it will just chop that piece of video out, which is fantastic. It'll also generate auto-generated captions. So for those of you that are generating video content, if you're putting it onto LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or wherever you might be putting the videos, you're probably aware a lot of people watch these videos on their phones and they probably don't always have their sound on. They might be, watching it whilst they're doing something else or whatever. So having captions on a video is a really important way of grabbing people's attention and making sure that they can understand what's being said, especially if it's a piece to camera. So Clipchamp will do that for you as well when you do this. So I'll just show you now. Here's an example of one of the videos that we've shot internally for some work we've done. And what we're going to do is on the right hand side of Clipchamp, we can say generate transcript. So we hit the transcript button, generate transcript, pick the language. Again, English UK. You can ask it to filter out profanity and offensive language if you wish to, if you have videos that are sweary, for example, and it will transcribe. And I'm going to jump to the next clip because it takes a bit of time to do that. And what you'll find is then it's created a transcript for you. And hopefully you can see on the screen here, it's picked out what I've said. It's broken it down into kind of chunks. And this example here, we can just highlight bits of text and we can just press delete. And it's now, you can see it's already chopped a piece of video out. It's put the captions on top of the video, and you can just select and highlight either whole sections, or you could delete individual words. And if you can see on this, on the video sort of bar here, as we select things, it's actually highlighting them here. So if I just run the video back again, as stuff here gets highlighted on this side, it actually highlights it within the video here and chops it out. So as we select this piece here, you'll see the pink part there, and there you go, it's chopped the video out. So it's a really quick way of actually going through and editing a video if you're not a video editor and you just need to be able to take words and bits and pieces out of a video. So that's Clipchamp. If you've got Windows 11, which hopefully you have, because Windows 10 is going to be end of life very soon, but if you're on Windows 11, you should find Clipchamp somewhere in your start menu. It will be there and available for you. And if you've got a Microsoft 365 license, again, you can log in to Clipchamp and have it link up to your 365 and everything. And again, with Clipchamp, if you have certain Microsoft licensing, and I couldn't tell you off the top of my head which ones it is, but certainly for us with the Business Premium, you get access to a bunch of things like royalty-free music, stock images, stock video, and all that kind of stuff. A bit like if you ever use something like Canva, Clipchamp gives you access to all that stuff. So Clipchamp is actually a really, really, really good video editing tool if you're not so tremendously good at editing videos, because it makes it really, really easy to make professional videos. So that wraps up to the end of the 7 tips, and so hopefully there you've picked up something that's that you didn't know. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we'll see if we've got any questions that we can answer. So thank you for your time. Let's have a look. I think there are a few questions in the Q&A. Okay, 2 questions actually from Emma, which I'll cover off quickly now. So first question, Emma, thank you very much for your input. Can you use Presenter Coach when you're actually presenting in real life so you get feedback for next time? Yes, you could turn it on. I think I've not tried, so I'm not going to say, I would say test this before you do it. I'm pretty sure it can sit in the background whilst you are still running the presentation on the main screen. So I'm going to say it's a yes, but I do not know for sure. So I would definitely test that. But I believe that, again, as long as you've got the microphone on the laptop, and then I would say if you're presenting on something like a webinar, I wouldn't do it because it takes the microphone over, then there's a potential then that the people on the webinar are not going to hear that, because the problem with kind of PCs and the way they work is typically an application will take control of the microphone, doesn't necessarily share it to other applications. So you might find that you're actually talking to yourself and no one can hear what you're saying. But for an in-person presentation, I don't see any reason why you couldn't, but I would just check that first. But I'm interested, so I'll try that myself as well. So great question, thank you. And then second question, on rules. You've struggled to set up a rule to forward automatically to HubDoc. Any tips for that? Microsoft didn't seem to want to play ball. What you might find, and again, I don't know the circumstances around what challenges or errors you were maybe getting, but I think one of the things we do see, and certainly we as an IT team quite often will lock people's Microsoft environments down to reduce the ability to forward, and certainly external forwarding can be disabled by standard. In fact, I think going forwards, I think on most new Microsoft 365 email tenants, it's blocked as default because it is actually a security risk, because most organizations probably don't want their staff just forwarding emails out to their Gmail account or their Hotmail, or moving it outside of where they've got data control. So if you've set this up and you're getting a bounce back that comes back and says something like, it'll be something like forwarding is not available, or forwarding is denied, or relaying is not allowed, or some kind of message around that, like a bounce back, it's probably the case that you need to speak to your IT administrators just to make sure that either they enable external forwarding or they create a rule to allow you to forward to HubDoc, because you certainly should be able to do it. What you also might find in HubDoc, I've not used for a while, but for those who don't know, HubDoc is a tool that kind of can process invoices and process things that you send it and bring them into an accounts package. I think Xero is a common one. You may need to choose the option to forward it as an attachment. So there were 2 options there, either forward the email or forward as an attachment. If you need to preserve all of the kind of headers and information within a message, forward as attachment will basically take that whole email, bundle it into a message, and then forward it on. So if you're not getting success with the regular forward option, then maybe forward as attachment might be another one to try. But certainly if you're getting a bounce back, I would say it's probably to do with your security settings on 365, because you certainly should be able to forward it out somewhere else if that's been allowed. So that's what I would say with that one. I don't think at the moment we've got any other further questions. So I'm not sure if Priya's there. Yep, here we go. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, no, I think that was all the questions. Thank you so much, Craig, for another insightful webinar. I definitely learned a few things. I do use Clipchamp as well, so I think
Okay,
it's going to
good.
make my life 10 times easier, and I won't be so dreaded when I'm editing a very long video. And even the presenter coach, I think that's very useful for someone, especially if they've not sort of presented before. And yeah, no, really good. But yeah, like I said at the beginning, the webinar will be available on YouTube shortly after this. Fantastic. But other than that, thank you so much, Craig, and thank you everyone for joining.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining. Thanks for having me again. Have a great day. See you.
Take care. Bye.